Hey guys, this is Tony from Deafening, and as you can see, some of you may know that I have the rest of the band here, and we decided to get together and do like a listening party of sorts of our Herize album, which we released in 2005. This is the album right here, so if anybody wants to ever follow along on Spotify with us, make sure you look at this album, the Dragonfly album. It's called Deafening Herize Experience. My name's Tony. I play guitar and sing in Deafening.
I'm James Hook. I wrote all the songs, taught them how to play. I just sat in a room and pushed the red button when they got it right. We said, let's move to the next song.
That's it. I'm Muttley. I play drums on the record.
And I am Carlos, and I did the bass.
What do you remember from the studio aspect of when we booked the studio with you and getting us in there? Is there anything that kind of stands out to you?
Well, to me, my memory of the whole thing is probably different because I was coming from a different angle than you guys were.
Right. That's.
I was just getting Skullsessions really off the ground. I've done a few things for. You'll remember the band names before I will. Some of those local guys. Yeah. Right? And I had my eye on you guys because everybody loved you. And you guys were really crazy powerful live. Nobody sounded like that. And everybody loved you guys. So I thought if I could get my hands on that and do what I think I can do with it, we're all going to have a way better time in the long run.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do it again, to be honest with you.
We did that. I think whenever we recorded with you, I was really impressed with the fact that you were trying to tailor a sound to us and not just put us in a box. We're like, oh, I got some presets. I'm going to add the presets. I'm going to flush you guys out. Yeah. You really spent the time. And I remember you having a conversation with me and telling me that, hey, Muttley, this is going to be your sound. This is your snare sound and your bass drum sound. And when I heard it, I was like, holy crap, I got my own sound, and I remember you telling me that other drummers were like, hey, I want my drum set to sound like Deafening's. And you're like, nah, that's Muttley's sound.
You better go get Muttley. But I knew we couldn't do Muttley in my house.
Yeah.
I'd have the HOA up my ass. It's hard.
But right? the way it worked out was just beautiful because the drums, because we did them in that other studio, the drums just sounded incredible. We were able to get away with that. Yeah,
that room was probably 30 foot by 60 foot.
That was a big room. My guitar, the guitar I used on that album was like an Ultimate Les Paul or something like that. It was Mike, I think his name was Mike from one of the other bands in the scene. He let me use it, and I used that guitar for the whole album. And
it was your Epiphone?
No, it wasn't the Epiphone, and it was like an They call it.
Gibson. It was the Gibson.
What was it called? Like a Les Paul Ultra or Les Paul Ultimate or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
And then I gave it back to him after the album, and he told me that he returned the guitar. It's like basically like alone. Alone. And but that's the guitar that I used. And we'll talk more about that stuff later as we get through the album. But anything you want to mention before?
Well, yeah, I borrowed Hector's bass, the Warwick Thumb.
Oh, okay.
But then it was that staticky noise feedback coming through all the time. So then all of a sudden there was a same thing with you. There was a Ernie Ball Music Man there. He goes, Jay's like, use this right here, like.
Where was it? At the studio?
Yeah.
Did we do bass up there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I said, I used it. And next you know, like, wow.
Ernie Ball's
that's the best bass I ever played on. Literally, it was. And so I had a 1974 Fender P bass.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to use that. Then I borrowed Hector's, but it had a short in it or something. So next you know, I just borrowed that Ernie Ball Music Man and then sold. Then as soon as I was able to save enough money, I bought me my own.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's what I still use to this day, even though I don't play.
All right, well, without further ado, let's start listening to the album in question. Is Deafening or Herize, a Deafening Experience? And the song here is Another Word for Cold.
Yeah! hallucinations and premonitions have become my only friends. See what you hear before it's all lost and gone, and when it does return, imagine it's what made us wrong.
Nice.
Nice.
Brings back some memories, huh?
It does.
People really dug the more energetic songs, the kind of heavier, energetic songs that you could move to, rather than the introspective, just slow, depressing, heavy songs. So we started writing these songs that were more like, let's move, let's get up there and jam, let's make it happen. Another Word for Cold was one of those songs, and that was the first one that we completed writing with Muttley. So we thought it was we used to open with it a lot on stage. It just became basically one of our signature songs. And if you listen very carefully, the very first part of this song, here, I'll play it back again for you. It's just, what was that, Hook?
My recollection is that is a loop that came off of, it was an old program called Acid.
Okay.
The original looping program was called Acid. I believe it came from that.
We chose maybe 4 or 5 of those loops that we kind of interspersed them throughout the album. And we kind of made the album, maybe not so much a concept album, but we tried to connect every song to where it felt like it all flowed. And so we would use like these loops to kind of blend the songs together.
Yeah, there's no break in the audible signature of that album from
there's not a break. There's no dead time. I don't think. It just goes from one song right to the other with like maybe a small musical interval in between each one.
I think the word that describes it best would probably be like a theatrical. Like we wanted to put on a show, so I remember I bought an SPDS, my little drum machine, and I put those loops on my drum pad.
Yeah.
So and the reason I say theatrical is because I remember at the beginning. We had the first show that we played, and Tony dressed up like a robot, and he put on a performance. And then some of the other shows I remember at Fitzgerald's, Tony had monologue from plays or what I'm not
stuff
sure.
I had written down.
Stuff that he had written down. He would remember like 3 or 4 paragraphs worth of words, and he would talk about those things, So the loops were playing in between every song, so it was a show. We put on a show like that. So I remember buying the SPDS and putting all the loops onto the songs, and then the monologues that you read, and it was a show, and people were going crazy, and I remember women screaming, and he let his hair down, and he at one point would burn some wax, and he started and I was like, that's gotta fucking hurt. That's gotta hurt. He started pouring wax on himself, and everybody went crazy, and I was like, holy crap. He briefly told us about what he was going to do, but he never specifically said, hey, I'm going to do this first and I'm going to do this second, and you guys come in. So he give us a look, and we start the song.
Yeah, I came up with this stuff, and I would just tell you guys like 5 minutes before we open, hey guys, I'm gonna do this thing. Are you okay with that? And you're like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember Fitzgerald's. We're backstage at Fitzgerald's, and he goes off, and he comes back shirtless with a short, maybe a rope or something. I don't even know. And he had he put a what do you call the monks? The cape. He put a cape on or something over it, and then he takes it off, and he's like shirtless, and then the candles start coming out, and I'm like, okay. So we put that on the record just to have a continuous loop, and I think that's the sound that we landed on.
Tell me, what is this regret for the love you'll never have? Will step up on the back of walls, their howls sound like whimpers. In comparison to me, what matters is the plan. The destination makes no difference, but the vessel chosen has to shine right.
I remember when I did the vocals for that, whose idea was it for me to do the octave lower? Was that something I came in doing, or did one of you guys tell me to?
It's a Prince thing.
I don't know.
It's a Prince thing.
But if you don't know production aspect of it, you don't hear it.
Yeah.
It definitely gives it a fullness, and I think it made it.
Yeah, I really like the octave lower there.
I like it too.
And then, of Carlos, do you remember when we did the Coram Deo album? Did the engineer Mike? Did he used to have me double up my vocals on the chorus? He did. Okay, I can't remember that, but I remember when I started working with you. You took me to the side and you said, "All right, we're gonna do the vocals one segment at a time," and I was like, "No, man, you can't capture the feel like that." And you're like, "No, just humor me, just trust me on this." It said you described it to me. You said it's a different animal, just a different animal. Just try it. And so I got used to. So I tried it, and I understood what you were saying when you played it back for me. You were like, "Okay, here's the track where you just did all one take. Here's the track where you did the vocals in separate takes," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." And so that was something that you taught me.
The theory behind that was that you were so go for it.
Yeah.
You don't have enough breath to pull that off.
Yeah.
All the way through, not in the studio.
Yeah.
So you could go for it every single time, and every take was super strong.
Yeah.
And that's where I knew if I could dial that in and make you focus on pitch a little bit, you're killing it.
Yeah. I think the live performance is so different because you're so on edge and you have so much adrenaline pumping to you that you would execute something different. But when you're in a room, a silent room, and somebody says go, you don't have that. You don't have the adrenaline pumping. You don't have 500 people looking at you and giving you that energy. You just gotta just say go, and that's where I think that comes in, because you could not focus on getting your breath out there and executing the entire thing. But I remember you didn't even want people to use any reverb or anything on your vocals, and they're just like, "What is this guy doing?"
Oh, wait, when I sang live.
Yeah. He's like, "No, take that off," and he wanted to do it all himself.
Yeah,
like,
it distracted me. I think sometimes they would put too much on it, and it would distract me.
But I think from an audio engineer standpoint, they're saying you're getting everything from this big old room.
Right.
We're not going to pick that up. You're going to sound dry. You're going to sound not good.
Well, and we learned later where I was trying to coach you. This was years later. I was trying to coach you into sounding great on those songs, and you told me you didn't want to sound great. So I didn't know the whole time that you were trying to not sound great.
Yeah.
You're trying to sound like on the edge, but there's a difference between on the edge and sounding great or sounding
Well, he used to tell me. Well, I used to tell you something like, "Oh, well, so and so screams like that, and it doesn't sound." And you're like, "Yeah, but that's not. You're not that person. You're not big enough. You're not big enough to do that yet." That's basically what you told me. All right. Well, let's listen to the rest. If anybody's got anything they want to stop me, just wait. Put up your hand.
Say what you have before it's all lost and gone, and when it does return, imagine it's what made us wrong.
At that time, it was a pork pie 5.5 clear acrylic snare.
You sure it wasn't? What's the thin one called?
A piccolo.
You sure it wasn't a piccolo
No, it
snare
wasn't
for
a
this
piccolo,
album?
but I used to tighten the living piss out of that thing, bottom head and top head. So every time, and of course, I remember developing a rim shot, and I think for everybody, like people would just, every time I hit the snare, they would like jump.
That's right. Yeah.
I remember talking about. It's funny that you mentioned the snare, because I mean, a lot of times people would give me that they would say like, "Man, that thing's like loud," and I was like, "That's cool." I remember going to we played a Lovekin, and then the audio engineer was like, he was like, "Dude, you're killing the snare." And I'm like, "Well, I can't turn it down." He's like, "I don't think I'm gonna mic your snare, dude." At Lovekin show, and he ended up not micing my snare and mic'd everything else. Imagine that.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And so I remember I learned about the rim shot, and then I never played anything. I never did anything else.
So wait, so you hit the rim every time you hit that snare?
Every time I hit the center of the snare and the rim shot. That's kind of like the way people do it, just to get that power and everything.
Yeah.
But it just became like a thing that I do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's where
That's what killed your wrist, isn't it? Where did that
it
kill
did
you?
at certain. I think what killed my wrist is not necessarily the rim shot. I remember I used to have a bruise on my leg the entire time. So I think my snare just even with my thighs.
Oh, okay.
And I would hit my at the same time, and then it just felt perfect.
Oh, okay. You liked hitting your leg there.
I think it was just like a default. Like it just happened because the snare drum was at that height. I created a spur in my cartilage.
Jeez.
And I had 3 surgeries after that. And I think right around definitely time I was going through a hard time.
Did you say all the pounding created sperm?
And he won a casting couch and he said rim shot.
Oh goodness. But yeah, so anyways, 3 surgeries later and a bunch of therapy and stuff, I'm good. So I've been keep the same power.
Did you know that solo I did was just completely just
Ad-libbed?
The ad-libs.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
That day it was ad-libbed?
Probably. Well, I used to do it similar to that live, but I just kind of goofed around whenever I played that.
What was
solo.
that pedal you had on that solo?
It might have been it was a flanger, like, I would think it was like a flanger cranked all the way up. Yeah. That part I had already had.
Oh, this is the part I'm talking about.
No, what was it? Carlos, what do you want to say about that outro, man?
Outro's great.
That was probably one of the first songs that we just kind of went all out on an outro.
Yeah.
It's a heavy outro.
Yeah.
Well, it started with the solo area. What do you want to call it? Solo. It was just interlude there. And the reason I did harmonics hook was because I don't know who was telling me, you should do slap. I said, I don't like slap, man. For one, I can't do it. But even if I could do it, I don't like slap. I'm not like a Flea guy. I don't even like Flea for a bad. I don't like slap. Hector's the only one.
Hector in your ear telling you to do it.
Yeah, well, that's might have been, but Hector's the only slap guy that I like. Okay, because it's, I don't know, he was just cool. He probably still is cool, right?
He
See
is.
that little fella in a while. But I like, okay, well, I'll just do this. So the break gave me a lot of I kept it to a minimal, but still gave me room to do more than what I wanted to do. So the harmonics was one that.
No, I think it sounded there perfectly.
Yeah, the harmonic, I love that harmonic. Because I think I said, I do a harmonic. And I'm like, well, shit, it works. And then, as is how it was. And then just the outro was just come out outro, One thing people always tell about our music, we, it was kind of an intro and an outro.
Yeah. No, I remember us working on outros, like every song, how you want to end this. And then I remember you were like,
I think we get the ideas from. I got the outro ideas from and the intros, or from the Cure. I'm a big Cure fan, man. So they always have outros. Cure have intros and outros to everything, man. And so I wasn't sure if I was digging it because I love the Cure, That wasn't because I think Chino Moreno from Deftones that's one of his favorite bands, and he said one time, he goes, "Just love it because because even Deftones do that too. I don't know if you notice the Deftones music; they always have an intro and a lot of times an outro is always because of The Cure.
Yeah.
So maybe I just copied those guys. Another thing I could take from those guys. So
I think Here probably has like the longest outro of our record.
Yeah.
We worked on that one for a little bit.
That one wasn't Here, but yeah, Here.
Yeah, Here was definitely like a 6-part outro.
But we sometimes we took criticism for that. Well, not locally, but when anybody in the industry, the industry heard our songs, intro's too long, song was too long.
Yeah.
You need to get to the chorus within 30 seconds.
So we wrote The Science of Frogs.
Yeah, and then we wrote a song called The Science of Frogs, and then they said, song's too short.
Great music, got a great feed. Song's too short.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
We could never win with the industry professionals.
I remember, was it Jimmy, right? Jimmy, the drummer from Chrome 44. Jimmy. He said he goes, fucking Science of Frogs is a badass song, dude. Why is it so fucking short? I'm like, I don't know, man. That's what we came.
We gotta leave you want more, I guess.
the industry that's what they wanted, and then they said they didn't want it anymore. That was last week.
Yeah, that was last week. Yeah,
you guys are.
When we wrote that song, I wasn't thinking, let's write a short song. Let's just. In fact, I thought it was longer than it was.
Yeah.
It's like what, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes long, maybe?
2:40.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought, there's a lot of parts in the song. It's got the intro, the outro.
Songs though. Remember, it was 2 different songs.
We combined 2 songs.
Yeah, we couldn't get one song right. Like, man, this is not sounding right. He goes, well, I got this other song. We started going at it. He goes, they might sound good together. So that's how it just came up right there.
Well, that's The Science of Frogs.
Not on here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not on here. I almost feel like we should go to it. But the next song is great. We got stories for the next song too. So the next song is called Division. So let's just listen to the very end of Another Word for Cold. Let's see what we did there. Did we do something here?
I thought you got to the end there.
Oh, it's
Yeah, we played.
You can keep playing it.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be that cinematic orchestra loop stuff.